All right, guys, we're going to rock and roll here on the show shortly. Live on the group, J-Dubs. Take a look at the screen for today's headlines. Live on my Facebook page, J-Dubs. Connie Sylvester, thank you for watching the program. If you guys are so inclined and you enjoy what we do, support what we do, or we elicit some kind of emotion, can you do us a favor in liking and sharing the show? Hammer the like button. We work very hard for you, and that's the only thing we ask in return is you like and share the show. Rob Neal, thank you for watching the program. Hit that like button, ladies and gentlemen, or share the show, better yet. That's even more valuable for us if you share the show. Tag a friend in the comment section that you think may appreciate the gospel that is the I Love CVille show. We're looking forward to connecting with you guys today on a chilly Tuesday. Live on I Love CVille Facebook page, J-Dubs. You confirm LinkedIn if you could and Twitter.
All right.
I'll take care of the rest. Like and share the show. Like and share the show. The I Love CVille network has been red hot of late. A lot of content that's been published on the network has gone viral. I'll put into perspective the virality of our content on the show. Live on I Love CVille Food, J-Dubs. I'll confirm Twitter here shortly. We're good on LinkedIn?
Yep.
We are not live on Twitter, J-Dubs. Are we live on YouTube? I'll confirm YouTube here in a matter of moments. Hit that like button, guys.
We are live on YouTube.
Okay, fantastic. So it looks like it's just Twitter that you got to get up and running. John Blair, thank you for liking the show. We appreciate you, John Blair. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel, ladies and gentlemen. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. I Love CVille Network. Search that on YouTube and you will find us live. Hit the thumbs up as well. Let me know when we're live on Twitter there, Judah. T-minus 20 seconds to rock it and roll in here. Ready to rock and roll, Judah?
Yeah, just about. What's going on?
All right. Things are looking good on my end. Good on Twitter?
Trying to get it started. We'll see.
How much more time do you need to get up and running on Twitter?
I should know in a second or two.
I can't really hear you.
Should know in a second or two.
Okay, let's rock and roll.
Let's see. It's live. Quiet on the set.
Welcome to the I Love CVille show, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and thank you kindly for joining us Tuesday afternoon in downtown Charlottesville. It's a pleasure to connect with you guys through the flagship show, the I Love CVille show, on a chilly afternoon. For those that are new to the program, and we have many, many new followers to the show, January has started really hot for the I Love CVille network with some of the content we've been publishing, and as a result, a lot of new faces, a lot of new followers, a lot of new IP addresses on our heat map. We welcome you to the program. For the new folks that are watching the program, the show is all about the water cooler of content and conversation. We focus on Charlottesville, Central Virginia, UVA, and we're spreading our wings to the Commonwealth, across the Commonwealth on this program, as we see the same news desert tendencies, not just in Charlottesville, but across Virginia. And I think we want to expand our coverage territory to include other pockets of a dynamic state that oftentimes is rattled or rankled or encouraged or discouraged by macro news and headlines out of DC, out of Washington, and elsewhere. A lot we're going to cover today, including, frankly speaking, something that caught a lot of people off guard. If Abigail Spanberger, John Blair put this on our radar yesterday. He's number 2 in the family. Fantastic article as well in the Daily Progress about this. In fact, it originated with the Richmond Times-Dispatch. If Abigail Spanberger chooses to divorce herself and have a clean split with Scott Beardsley from the University of Virginia, the total financial exposure for a clean break totals $8,500,000 for Scott Beardsley. It is an absolutely astronomical number. But as the Richmond Times-Dispatch put it, it's a poison pill that was strategically negotiated and created and put into Beardsley's contract to discourage the newly formed Board of Visitors from firing the newly minted Beardsley. In fact, I thought this was intriguing how I wrote it yesterday. A newly minted, in fact, I caught grief for this because I said crowned, but I'm going to read exactly what I said. If a newly crowned Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger and her newly minted UVA Board of Visitors decide to fire newly hired President Scott Beardsley without cause, the total financial exposure for a clean divorce is a whisker's hair below $8,500,000. Like him or not, Scott Beardsley was playing chess when everyone else was playing checkers. That's what I published yesterday on the I Love CVille network, and it's gone absolutely viral. It's interesting. You throw a photo of what appears to be a wealthy white man on social media and commentary or factual analysis of him getting $8.5 million to further add to his wealth, and then you include the phrase newly crowned Governor Abigail Spanberger and the fact that Beardsley was playing chess instead of checkers. That's all you need for virility in this very sensitive and very dynamic and very divisive Virginia world we live in. I want to unpack the reasons why Abigail Spanberger will push her newly minted Board of Visitors to fire Scott Beardsley, and I want to unpack the reasons why Abigail Spanberger will not push her newly minted Board of Visitors to fire Scott Beardsley on the show today. I also want to discuss on the program, and Judah, you're going to set the stage with the Jefferson Council, what was sent to us today. All whet the appetite for the viewers and listeners. Email this morning from the Jefferson Council in my inbox highlighting the coverage from the Cavalier Daily. Finally, the Cavalier Daily, and props to the Cavalier Daily, the student newspaper. They are the third media outlet to cover the UVA health system alleged white-collar racketeering scandal. The first, actually, they are the fourth. The first one, undoubtedly, the I Love CVille network. The second one, a Richmond television station. The third one, NBC 29. Now the fourth one, Cavalier Daily. They cover the 239 pages that the Jefferson Council uncovered via FOIA on the UVA health system investigation and alleged white-collar racketeering scandal. Cavalier Daily's got an interesting tidbit that we did not know about in its publication, and here it is. In this Cavalier Daily report, the Cavalier Daily speaks with university spokesperson Bethany Glover, who drops this key piece of information. Williams and Conley delivered an oral briefing on its findings to the Board of Visitors in February of 2025, and that no written report was produced by the law firm Williams and Conley, hired by the university to investigate the allegations. Jefferson Council asked this question: how is it possible that former Rector Robert Hardy and the Board of Visitors in February of 2025 allowed an investigation of this size, scope, and seriousness at UVA Health without producing a final written report of its findings? The extent of the report presented to the Board of Visitors by Williams and Conley was strictly oratory. It was an oral report and never a hard copy report, print report, paper report presented to the BOV. From my standpoint, there's a clear-cut answer to that. And that clear-cut answer is to diminish exposure and risk by having a paper trail. I don't know if you viewers and listeners watched the show on Paramount Plus called Landman. Landman features a stellar cast. Billy Bob Thornton is fantastic in it. Sam Elliott is in it. What is Allie's name? Is it Allie? I should know her. She's a beautiful lady, very talented actress. Is it Allie Gardner? Allie Larder is her name. In this past episode, Demi Moore is also in this show. In this past episode, and I won't let the cat out of the bag or do any spoilers for you, but there's the main oil company, MTEX, the wife of the founder of the company. The founder of the company was played by John Hamm. The wife is Demi Moore. And she asks one of the secondary characters on the show, who's an attorney, why did my husband never have paper documentation of all the concerning activity tied to our family business, MTEX Oil? And the attorney responds to Demi Moore's character, no, it was about why didn't my husband put the paper documentation online in the cloud for us to easily access? Why was all the paper documentation in boxes in our basement? And the attorney responds to Demi Moore's character, he basically says, if there's ever a lawsuit, your husband was able to go to the basement in your house, to go to the boxes and destroy the only track record of the exposure possible. It's kind of got me thinking of this Cavalier Daily report and what the Jefferson Council highlighted in an email to me this morning. The Cavalier Daily uncovers the fact that the third-party law firm hired by the UVA Board of Visitors to investigate the alleged white-collar racketeering only provided the BOV with an oral report of what happened and not a written report. It's very similar. It's so you don't have a paper trail of what's going on. We'll talk about that on the program today. I'll also ask the question on the show, and I do this from a position of love, a position of absolutely holding people accountable. And when I say this, I want the viewers and listeners to realize that I'm doing this from a position as an individual who owns a fair amount of a building in downtown Charlottesville and has tremendous skin in the game in downtown Charlottesville. I'm going to ask for a second straight week on the I Love CVille network and on the I Love CVille show. Why have the 50-year anniversary plans to celebrate the 50-year birthday of the Charlottesville Downtown Mall, why have they not been announced? Why have those plans not been initiated? Why are we not celebrating the 50-year anniversary of the pedestrian mall right now? Every single month there should be a different kind of celebration, a different kind of history tour, a different kind of revelry as a milestone anniversary of 50 years for one of the only pedestrian malls remaining in all of the country, and it's here in Charlottesville. And neither City Hall nor City Council nor the men and women of influence behind the scenes have a proper plan in place to celebrate what's happening in the most important 8 blocks of the region. Why is that the case? I will continue to bring that up on the I Love CVille show until I see traction of merit, until I see something that is synonymous with the milestone significance of 50 years. 50 years is a big one, and still nothing is happening. A lot I want to cover on the broadcast. I want to celebrate a partner of the show, Charlottesville Sanitary Supply, their sister company, Charlottesville Swimming Pool Company. Those two businesses, Charlottesville Sanitary Supply, can be found online at charlottesvillesanitarysupply.com. The swimming pool company can be found at charlottesvilleswimmingpoolcompany.com. They have an e-commerce store for all your sanitary needs. Anything that you can find on the big box brands tied to cleaning, sanitary, vacuums, anything you can purchase, you can do it at charlottesvillesanitarysupply.com, and it's delivered on your doorsteps for free, faster than the big box brands. Support local. The Vermillion family, the family behind these two businesses, is 62 years in business operation and 5 generations strong in Albemarle County. They are men of integrity, John and Andrew Vermillion. Hall Spencer, the award-winning journalist, just walked by our studio. Huge fan of Hall Spencer on this program. A lot we're going to cover on the broadcast. Judah, studio camera, as we welcome a man that's beloved in the community for his even-keeled demeanor and commentary that is respected and backed with reason. I ask you the same question to start every show, so you should not be surprised, my friend. What is the most intriguing headline for you and why, Judah Wickower?
I can't believe that. I find it incredibly hard to believe that the law practice that did the report for the Board of Visitors was told not to produce a written report. It seems highly suspect, and I mean, on the face of it, it looks like a way of covering your tracks.
Yeah, just the story continues to get more dynamic, more concerning, more riddled with malpractice, dysfunction, and potential criminality.
Yeah.
Hiring a high-dollar, expensive Mercedes-Benz, heck, not even a Mercedes-Benz, a Bentley or Maserati type of law firm to investigate the alleged white-collar racketeering, fraudulent billing, profits over patients, medical chart changing to maintain performance standards, and then not having that law firm provide a written documented report, instead only provide an oral report, a report presented to the Board of Visitors in closed session, in closed session, not open session,
Yeah.
suggests to me that very sophisticated and intelligent and well-connected people, the BOV, were trying to do a little do-si-do, a little three-card money. Almost the hustler on the New York City street corner with the cardboard box asking you to find the little ball under the 3 red cups or the Queen of Diamonds to win $20 or $40. That's what's happening here. I'm curious of your take, viewers and listeners. Deep Throat, we're going to get to your comments in a matter of moments. I have print, radio, and television watching the program right now. First, we lead with Beardsley, though, Judah.
Yeah.
On the I Love CVille network yesterday, I posted a headshot of Scott Beardsley, handsome fellow, Scott Beardsley, sharp-looking guy. And President Beardsley watches this program. He's got a team member that's streaming the show daily and providing a report to President Beardsley about what we're talking about. I make sure this is included in the report, please. Sharply dressed fellow, well qualified for this job. Man was playing chess when everyone else was playing checkers. He legitimately, Scott Beardsley, has some leverage right now. Some is the word. Some leverage over Abigail Spanberger, the governor. Scott Beardsley has got a way to build even more significant generational wealth. Okay? If he were to be fired, ladies and gentlemen, and if Spanberger chooses to fire Scott Beardsley without cause, in totality, he will walk with $8.5 million in payout. That's if he's fired without cause. I had a conversation yesterday with a professor at the University of Virginia. He was in the humanities. I asked for his first and last name. All he would do was provide me his first name. He and I got in a little bit of I wouldn't call it an argument, but a terse conversation back and forth. He overheard me yesterday afternoon speaking with someone that had ties to the McIntire School of Commerce. And yours truly, and this individual, I won't utilize his name, who had ties to the McIntire School of Commerce, we were discussing Beardsley and how he was playing chess when everyone else was playing checkers. This professor, who clearly had a very different viewpoint of this than us, tied to the humanities, that's all he would say, would only give me his first name. He said what Beardsley is doing is borderline blackmail and extortion. That's what he said, his words. That he is no hero, that he is no king, that he certainly was not playing chess. He was just taking advantage of a situation. Then he said the $8.5 million, if Spanberger chooses to fire him now, Beardsley, who would then get 10 years of compensation at a percentage of his presidential pay while working in some kind of faculty position at Darden. He said if he's fired as president of the University of Virginia, he will not continue for that 10-year period of time while working as a faculty member of Darden. Immediately, the gentleman tied 60% of his final presidential salary. Immediately, the McIntyre individual said, "Are you crazy? Why in God's name would he not ride out a 10-year, $780,000 yearly compensation with the Darden School when he could easily get a job in the private sector while teaching one course or two over that 10-year period of time per semester?" And when the McIntyre School mentioned that to the gentleman that works in humanities at the University of Virginia, his face turned ghost white. He then realized at that point the leverage that Beardsley had and made a comment to me, this professor in humanities at the University of Virginia, that our moral compasses, mine and the McIntyre fellow, were corrupt and convoluted because we were celebrating the negotiation tactic of Beardsley, who is looking to manipulate, who is taking advantage of a nonprofit higher education university. And immediately, the McIntyre guy said, "Hey, if you were in those shoes, you're telling me you wouldn't do the same?" And he had no response to that.
Yeah. Beardsley is in an extremely tenuous situation, and to not do his due diligence and get the best deal he can on his contract would be, I mean, it'd be like a fish deciding it wants to hang out outside of the water. Like, this is the guy that's been the 3-time dean of the Darden Business School. Of course he's
3 terms.
Yeah, of course he's going to cut himself a good deal. He's not an idiot. He's not the dean because they just randomly pick some guy to run the school.
A lot of people don't realize this. If you're hearing this first, if Beardsley is fired without cause, there's a third layer to his contract where he would earn, for 10 years after he's fired, salary tied to the Darden School as a faculty professor. And over that 10 years, he'd get 60% of his final presidential salary, which is akin to $780,000 annually.
Yeah, I think it was the lower of 60% of his salary, or the dean of the business school salary.
John Blair leaves this comment. John Blair, number 2 in the family. Make sure you put his photo on screen. John Blair says this: average Dow return over the past 40 years is 9.4% exclusive of expenses. 8 million or 8.5 million, he says, let's just use 8 million at 9.4% over 10 years is $19.6 million. And then he says, the house always wins, Judah Wickower. We should unpack on today's show why or why not Abigail Spanberger will choose to fire Scott Beardsley. Do you want to start?
Why she would? I mean, the obvious reason is she wants what she wants, and she made that clear with her request before becoming governor. She made that clear with her requests after becoming governor that several of the board members resign, and I see no reason why she wouldn't continue with Beardsley.
The Virginia General Assembly, Democratic to the backbone, is eager to remove Beardsley from his presidential post. Spanberger has this decision to make. If I do can Beardsley with my newly appointed Board of Visitors, using my influence with my newly appointed board, what is the fallout or collateral damage for me as a governor for doing that? $8.5 million on paper seems like a lot of money.
But
$8.5 million
against
what's that?
But not when placed against UVA's overall spend.
The yearly operating budget for the University of Virginia north of $5 billion with a B, billion with a B. Mm-hmm. I push back on anyone that says they have an endowment of $14 billion. Of course, they can afford $8.5 million to exit from Beardsley. No, that's not how the endowment works. They just can't. It's not a slush fund that can be spent nilly-willy. Stop thinking of the endowment that way, viewers and listeners. The $8.5 million would be on the backs of taxpayers. So while the $8.5 million is something the University of Virginia can afford, and in the grand scheme of things would be peanuts, the significant collateral damage for Spanberger, the governor, would be the media coverage of how she immediately comes out of the gates, fires a guy in Beardsley because media would cover it this way. Her henchmen and cronies in Richmond don't want him in office, and she just puts the burden on taxpayers as if it's no big deal, or on students with tuition increases. That's what the narrative would be, ladies and gentlemen, on this storyline. I'm very curious of your thoughts. Put them in the feed. I'll relay them live on air. Judah Wickhauer, you go first, my friend.
What are you asking?
Your thoughts on the Beardsley storyline.
I mean, I think the guy's probably just holding on and waiting to see what happens. There's not really much he can do. I probably, like we mentioned yesterday, I would be surprised if he's even moved into Carr's Hill. Either way, he's set.
Deep Throat, number one in the family, his photo on screen. Will they try to invalidate Beardsley's contract, he asks. Hey, they can try anything, but ultravirus is generally not a very effective defense against claims of breach.
What is not a
He also says,
claim?
As for the third-party law firm report, no written report means no discoverability, whitewash, disgusting, more Jim Ryan sneakiness. He says, and another thing, if the claim is that the board was not properly constituted, then any contract they needed to ratify during the period the board was not properly constituted would also be void. Does this BOV want to open that can of worms? And he closes, I mean, she might fire him anyway. What's another $8.5 million? Just jack up out-of-state tuition a few year per student. And then he says, the glided youth who attend UVA from out of state, their parents will happily pay for this. No Viewers doubt. And listeners, let us know your thoughts. Put them in the feed. We'll relay them live on air on the water cooler of content and conversation. Here's my take on this. And then, Judah, if you want to offer some insight into this as well. And you gotta speak up a little bit. I'm having a hard time hearing you. And we're mere 2 feet apart. Beardsley, to fire or not to fire? Mm-hmm. First, if you're going to rip off the Band-Aid, you do it quickly and you do it swiftly. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen sooner than later. And she's going to use the BOV that she's now appointed and has control. She's appointed 10 new members to it. A lot of people don't even realize this. There's so much going on with the UVA. They don't even understand that Spanberger has 10 appointees waiting to be approved by the General Assembly. 10 right now.
And we all know that they're just going to go down the line and say approved. Approved.
Yes, people like BOV members often are.
No, I mean the
Assembly. The General Assembly is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that came up on the I Love CVille network yesterday. One of the individuals who I have a lot of respect for. I won't utilize his name because I don't want to throw any shade at him. This individual said on the I Love CVille network yesterday, these 10 members, Jerry, still have to be approved by the General Assembly. That hasn't been done. The General Assembly they're Democrats.
They paved the way for this to happen.
They made this happen.
No way they're going to go against this.
Yeah,
they were the ones that stopped former governor the former governor's appointments to the board of visitors, and not just UVA but to other schools as well.
The 10 appointees will be approved, and when they are approved, Spanberger has total control of the board and influence of the board. Then she instructs them what to do. And one of the first decisions is going to be Beardsley. The other side of the argument is you work alongside Beardsley, but you do it in a way where he's pretty much like under your thumb, where he is lock, stock, and barrel following you in every what you say, edict, or order in every circumstance. And if he refuses to do that, then you can fire him for cause. Mm-hmm. That's the alternative. My take is this, that Spanberger is going to determine sooner than later of what she's going to do. And that I genuinely think this is a lose-lose situation for her. Mm-hmm. Because her voter base wants her to fire Beardsley. But the flip side of firing him is the collateral damage of media ripping her for overreach from day one. Judah Wickhauer.
I think there's also the question of how badly she wants to bring this fight to the White House. I think if she really wants to bring back DEI to UVA and pull back everything that the agreement, everything the agreement stopped the university from doing, then she probably has to fire Beardsley, because I don't see him going along with that just to go along with that. There was, I think, enough discussion about DEI, and the fact that the university was going against federal law in instituting some of their DEI decisions, that this is going to be a tough sell for anyone other than a Spanberger presidential appointee at UVA.
John Blair's comments, number 2 in the family. He says, I would agree with the humanities professor, Jerry, that you had a conversation with, that Beardsley is no hero. He's shrewd. He saw a situation that was ripe for negotiating a very large severance package, and he took advantage of it. Jerry, here's a good example related to real estate. Let's say that the city of Charlottesville stated that it had to close on a new building on Market Street within 30 days, just like a board of visitors had to hire a president before January. Let's say that their need included a must-have of a production studio. I suppose you might say that you could name your price at that point. I think Beardsley was in a similar position. Yeah. He could name his severance within a very large band. Again, no hero, a guy in the right place at the right time who is willing to roll the dice. We'll see if it works out, but if it does, he's basically future-proofed his kids and grandkids for life. I get that. I'm gonna rattle off a similar hypothetical, but my hypothetical, and John, I appreciate your comment tremendously. I always do. What I'm going to rattle off is something that actually happened to me. Okay, one of the commercial spaces that I purchased was a commercial space purchased from Dr. Trice Taylor. And Dr. Trice Taylor was a dentist. He has since passed away. A very established and known commodity in Charlottesville, Virginia, a member of many boards in Charlottesville. This is OG Charlottesville, old guard Charlottesville, Trice Taylor. He had an office space in this building, the Macklin building. And Dr. Trice Taylor was in the back end of his professional career. He was in his 70s while still practicing as a dentist. And weeks before closing his practice, after being unable to sell the space tied to his dental practice, I approached Dr. Taylor and said, I'm interested in potentially buying your office space. He was surprised because he thought the office space, which was set up as a dentist's office, a dental office, would be sold to a fellow dentist who wanted to have a satellite office or a branch or division or whatever you call it, a satellite dental office in downtown Charlottesville. So how his real estate agent, very established real estate agent, Tim Carson of Real Estate 3, was marketing the property in some ways was, here's your chance to open a dental office in downtown Charlottesville. It's ready to go. And I went to Dr. Taylor and I said, sir, I have no interest in buying your office space, buying your dental practice, and keeping it a dental practice. Okay? I am someone who rents commercial office space. And I utilize my media company to keep vacancies from staying vacant that long, because I can position call to action messages on my media company to fill the vacancies. And he was surprised. And here, I mean, I'll be straightforward. I knew he was a gentleman in his 70s. I knew he was closing his dental practice in a couple of weeks. And I know he had struggled for an extended period of time of selling his office. And I knew he had very limited interest from the market. And I knew because of all those elements, and this was 11 years ago or so. I knew because of all those elements that I could make a pretty aggressive offer. And I knew if I made that aggressive offer, which was a seller finance offer with a fixed interest rate over a term, 12 years, that was not going to be an adjustable rate. It was going to be fixed over 12 years, and it was going to be amortized over a 20-year period, that I said, this is my offer. It's my last and final offer. I understand if you do not want to take it. Here's my phone number. And 4 or 5 days went by, and I received a phone call from his listing agent, from Tim Carson, who's fantastic, and a deal was brokered. I wouldn't say in that scenario that I was, I would say in that scenario that I understood what was going on with the real estate market and put a deal together that was, frankly, fair to both parties. Because if there's no other deal on the table for Dr. Taylor, who's in his 70s and he's about to close the door, and he literally would have no earnings tied to that practice and would have a lot of overhead, then the deal he had in front of him was fair to him, right? Scott Beardsley, when he puts together this contract, okay, he understands the game. He understands that few people in America at that time would take the job. He understands that the Board of Visitors at that time, then the Youngkin board, was trying to fast track a hire because they wanted to do it before they had to resign or get fired, right? Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Okay. He understood that. He understood that he had to incentivize his contractor, do his contract in a way, and make sure we're live on LinkedIn. It looks like the screen is going dark. He understands that he had to do his contract in a way where the incentive for him to leave the Darden Post, actually we're good, to leave the Darden Post makes sense. I don't fault Scott Beardsley here. Like, I don't fault the offer I put together for Taylor that was an offer he had to take.
Yeah.
Isn't that playing chess?
100%. Yeah, he saw that. He saw the cards on the table. He saw that the board was, as you said, going to find someone to fill the president spot, and he knew that he was a top candidate. So why not work to secure his future in an uncertain milieu.
Right. Just like what we did, what I did with that buying the dental practice. I still had to figure out a way to come up with, as part of that seller finance deal, 20% of the purchase price. I had the dry powder on hand. And Beardsley still had to overcome the mental hurdle of leaving a posh and cake and easy Darden position to go into the lion's den of politics, the UVA presidential job. He could have kept flying under the radar at Darden, where it was easy breezy Sunday breezy, easy peasy Sunday breezy. I still had to figure out how to cover the cost associated with gutting a dental practice and creating it into executive office space. That cost a lot of money. A lot of money to do that. Beardsley still had to figure out a way to explain to his wife and his kids and his family, I'm going to take this job and we're going to be, our name, our moniker, our family is going to be in the media and potentially lambasted by half the Commonwealth, and the other half won't even care.
But in less than a year, we'll probably be able to move to a small island that we own.
And for me, immediately after remodeling the dental practice into executive office space and converting them into 3 private offices, I had them rented out because of the media company and was cash flowing positive revenue. Had the mortgage covered, had all bills associated covered, had money on top of that, and guess what? The mortgage is now tipped and it's debt free. It's the same thing. In life, there's people, there's men, there's women that are willing to take risk, and there's people that are willing to play it safe. And there's nothing wrong with either path. And some of the folks that take risk lose everything. Some of the folks that take risk win big. Some of the folks that take risk win small, and some of the people that take risk lose small. And if you want to do that mindset, it's part of your DNA or personality. There's other folks that do it that just want a 9 to 5 or a 9 to 6 or whatever it is now. I say Charlottesville is more like a 9 to 6:30. And that's fine too. I don't fault Beardsley for what he's done. And we're going to learn a lot about Abigail Spanberger and how she handles this and how she succumbs to the pressure of the General Assembly, or how she basically looks at her constituents, the General Assembly, and says, hey, I'm not going to fire him. I'm going to work with him, and I'm going to control him. And if he doesn't do what the BOV says in this very, very, very structured environment, then we have a reason to fire him with cause. But firing him without cause does not make financial sense. Anything you want to add to that, Judah Wickower?
Do we know what the contract says about getting fired with cause?
I mean, you can look it up and research it. It's certainly out there. Viewers and listeners, your thoughts, put them in the feed. We'll relay them live on air. Next headline, Judah Wickower, what do you got?
Will a judge deem the Beardsley hire invalid?
This is the one intriguing wrinkle here that I want to follow closely. Will a judge, will a Virginia court, deem that Beardsley was that his hire by the Youngkin appointed Board of Visitors, that his hire was invalid? And if his hire is deemed invalid by a Virginia court, this is right up John Blair's alley. This is up Jim Hingley's alley. Jim Hingley's watching the program. He watches the program. He emailed me yesterday during the show. He was watching yesterday's program, the Commonwealth's attorney. If a Virginia court says that Beardsley, his hire was not valid because there was not proper criteria the board was not made up of proper criteria.
Wasn't properly constituted.
12 Virginians, 12 alumni. Then his hire is not valid. Now, the flip side of that argument is Youngkin tried to appoint the board, but the General Assembly kept him from making the board valid by blocking the appointees.
Right.
So that's out of my pay grade right there. That's out of my pay grade. That's the one wrinkle here that I think Spanberger can pursue if she wants to divorce herself of Beardsley, is to figure out if there's a court or a judge, and this is a Hingley, this is a Blair type of comment. If someone says you could not hire that guy because you did not have the proper makeup of the board, then the flip side to that would be, well, we couldn't get the proper makeup of the board because the General Assembly was blocking Youngkin's appointees to the board, Ken Cuccinelli, for example.
Yeah.
Curious to see how that plays out. Very curious to see what John Blair says. And as Deep Throat reiterates again, that if that happens, it would mean everything the Board of Visitors did was invalid.
Yeah.
Everything. And Deep Throat says, and not just Beardsley's hire, but everything that the board did at that point would be invalid. And he says,
sense, yeah.
We've been involved in litigation over this very issue in Venezuela, and regarding Venezuelan bonds, and we won. He's talking his firm was involved in litigation over this very issue in regards to Venezuelan bonds, and his firm won. And then he says, you should ask John Blair, but authority/ultra-vires arguments are very hard to win. That's a John Blair, right up Mr. Blair's alley. This is out of my pay grade, John.
And I like the point that he made about if you make this choice invalid, and that invalidates everything else the board did. What happens with Beardsley? If you invalidate his contract as president of UVA, does that does everything revert back? Does he then go back to being the dean of Darden?
And the Darden School as an interim dean.
Right.
Take it a step further. Does it revert back to Jim Ryan being president? But Jim Ryan resigned.
Yeah.
Take it a step further. What's this do with the UVA health scandal? As that Board of Visitors was actively involved with the health scandal. Take it a step further. What does this do with the redacted triple murder report?
I think we're getting a little far off with.
Well, why?
Because
if the board was not able to legitimately act as a BOV because the General Assembly cock-blocked Youngkin from making appointments.
Yeah.
Right? That's what happened. And then everything the board did when it was not legitimate is seen invalid. Democrats using this to nullify the Beardsley hire.
But the board was legitimate during the redacted.
Are you sure?
Pretty sure.
Is that right?
Wasn't that like 3 years ago?
The releasing the report or failure to do so, we'd have to look at the timeline. But this is my point. Look at the Pandora's box it would open.
Yeah.
Certainly, Ryan's, the whole to-do with Ryan, right? This is another point that was made yesterday. This is another point that was made yesterday to me in a Signal conversation. I'm not going to say with who, but it was through the Signal app with a very important person. The very important person made this comment. Is Scott Beardsley going to quickly look to hire the provost and make a provost hire immediately before he potentially loses his job? That's the next storyline. This particular heavy hitter said to me that Beardsley could do the one-finger salute to UVA if Spamberger is looking to fire him, or the General Assembly is looking to fire him, or the Board of Visitors is looking to fire him by fast-tracking a provost hire who's running the academia side of the University of Virginia. And that's someone that is as connected, making that comment to me.
What would that accomplish for him? Or would that just be a stick in the craw?
Yes, the vendetta.
Have to fire someone else.
Yeah, it's his version of the poison pill. The Youngkin board poison-pilled Beardsley's contract by making it so expensive to terminate him or to divorce from him. He could then say, they're going to stick it to me, I'll stick it to you, by hiring a provost. That was what was passed along to me yesterday. Let us know your thoughts, viewers and listeners. We'll relay them live on air. He says this, Deep Throat, I would be more concerned about contracts signed under BOV authority, property trades, service contracts, etc. Anybody who has second thoughts about a contract, well, sorry, we're going to void them. You guys argue it yourself. Wild times. I'll tell you what, it's certainly fodder for content creators. Comments continue to come in. Let's go to Barbara Becker Tilley. She says, exactly. Was just coming on here to say that. Ryan is super dirty, and all that they are doing is sweeping under the health investigation report under the rug. Barbara Becker Tilley, so essentially doing what they do best, employ administration with the handcuffs of politics. Next topic, Judah Wickar, what do you got? And set the stage here. Is the next topic the UVA health scandal? God, we got so many UVA people watching the program right now.
Yeah.
Is
Only
the next
an oral report.
All right, set the stage here.
I mean, this is fairly damning, I would think, even if just by implication. But the fact is that that the report that we've been talking about, the 239-page report, was written up by Jones Swanson Huddle, who represented the 36 physicians who also participated in the Williams and Connolly investigation, and provided its own additional report, which we have seen. Their report came out concurrently with the Williams and Connolly investigation, where we recently found out when they provided. Was this? You're
making this way too complicated. Here's pretty much what's happened here, and I don't mean to be disrespectful here. We got to make it
okay.
very succinctly here. The UVA Board of Visitors when the anonymous 128 doctors brought to their attention alleged white-collar racketeering, fraudulent billing, allegedly, medical chart changing to maintain national rankings and performance standards, allegedly, and the positioning of profits over patients, specifically pursuing elective surgeries over general medicine, and very risky surgeries despite not having equipment, resources, and personnel to perform those surgeries, but still being told to do them because we want the payday. The 128 anonymous brought this to the BOV, and Jim Ryan had been bringing it to Jim Ryan for years. Okay? They said, Craig Kent, hostile takeover. The Board of Visitors eventually went to a third-party law firm, Williams & Conley, and said, investigate this. Williams & Conley, the third-party high-dollar law firm, presented the investigation, which was damning to the Board of Visitors. They went into closed session to hear the investigation, the report, oral only, no paper documentation of the report. Immediately after Williams & Conley presented this report, Craig Kent, the leader of the hostile takeover, resigned. And the new wrinkle to this storyline, which was reported in the Cavalier Daily, the fourth media outlet to cover this, I Love CVille 1, Richmond TV Station 2, NBC 29 3, Cavalier Daily 4. The new wrinkle that no one had discussed or figured out was the Williams & Conley law firm presented the report in closed session to the Board of Visitors strictly in conversation or an oral capacity and no paper documentation of the report.
Yeah.
That's it right there in a nutshell, succinctly. This is as effing damning as anything in this alleged white-collar racketeering. Because this speaks to cover-up.
Oh, yeah.
This speaks to premeditated. This speaks to strategic. This speaks to elements of alleged racketeering. This is like legitimate. We don't want a paper trail. Tell us in person in closed session what happened.
Yeah.
Think about that, folks. This is disingenuous. This is closed door corruption.
It means there's nothing to FOIA.
Yeah. That's what that means. Think about the premeditated nature of this. That was the new piece of information uncovered, and props to the Cavalier Daily.
Yeah.
The new piece of the information covered in the Cavalier Daily report that came out. When did that come out? Let me see if I can find it. Was it today? Was it last night?
That bit of information came out 4 hours ago, and they're
4 hours ago.
And they're pointing to the 5 hours ago. They're pointing to the
14 hours ago. I'm looking at
it. Article in the Cavalier Daily.
I'm clicking the link.
Most of what's in that is a rehash of
what we already knew.
The allegations.
If you want to read this Cavalier Daily report, the headline is, quote, report on UVA health details alleged misconduct under Kent and Kibbe's leadership. They legitimately find, and I'll give the Cavalier Daily grace because the Jefferson Council's efforts, 239 pages, happened over Christmas break. So the students are now just returning to grounds. So to be forced to cover this story is actually props to the Cavalier Daily because they just got back to grounds late last week and back into the newsroom early this week. Go ahead.
Yeah. 5 hours ago they posted this, and they make the salient point that Kent was fired after the oral report was given to the Board of Visitors, that no reason was ever explained to the public, and now, almost a year later, after his resignation, we find out that there was no written record of the official investigation. All we have is the secondary report.
Charlottesville City Councilor Lloyd Snook offers a comment on the poison pill with Scott Beardsley. I'm going to respond to it. I appreciate your comment. I will mention it live on air on the I Love CVille show. Lloyd Snook, Charlottesville City Councilor, one-time Charlottesville Mayor. Lloyd Snook, an attorney. Lloyd Snook says this poison pill deal was agreed to with Scott Beardsley by the Yunkin-appointed Board of Visitors, represented by Jason Miyares. Represented by Jason Miyares' appointed UVA counsel. It was not an arm's length transaction. So Snook with this comment, and I have tremendous respect for Lloyd Snook. He's literally leaving this comment 25 feet from where I'm sitting in our building. His law firm is 25 feet from where I'm sitting right now. This comment, if I'm unpacking this correctly, alleges that the poison pill deal went so far up the food chain that included Jason Miyares. And my response to that should have been, of course that's the case, and went further up the food chain than Jason Miyares, all the way to the governor, Glenn Youngkin. Jason Miyares' boss. Miyares, then the attorney general at the time.
Yeah.
The question is this, and this is some conspiracy fodder, some conspiracy content and conversation. You know where I'm going to go with this.
Yeah, you've basically set up two teams. You've got the Youngkin, Miyares Board of Visitors that he mostly appointed, Youngkin, and they essentially have set up a play, knowing what was coming down the pike, and now you've got the other team making their counter move, their counter play.
No, that's not what I was going to say.
Okay.
What conspiracy conversation, fodder for your charcuterie and cocktail party this weekend. We know the poison pill deal was blessed. Got the Pope's blessing from Glenn Youngkin and Jason Miyares. Did it go further than Glenn Youngkin to the DOJ and the Trump administration? The DOJ and the Trump administration had to be concerned that Abigail Spanberger, she was the clear-cut winner of the governor's race. Winsome Earl Sears ran one of the worst governor's campaigns in Virginia history, period. Winsome Earl Sears, now with the benefit of the hindsight, kind of looks like a political buffoon. And she got eviscerated in this race. Everyone and their mother knew that Abigail Spanberger was going to beat Winsome Earl Sears, beat the brakes off of Winsome Earl Sears, and she did. Everyone knew that, and we knew that in the middle of the summer. Trump's no dummy. The DOJ's no dummy. Trump and the DOJ have UVA in the crossfire.
Yeah.
Did it go higher than Youngkin with DOJ and Trump because they knew they could look a fool if Spanberger wins, cleans house with the BOV, new house with the BOV, cleaning house with the BOV could mean reneging on the interim president Paul Mahoney's negotiation and signed contract with the DOJ and the Trump administration, which would throw shade and potentially embarrass the DOJ and the Trump administration by the University of Virginia giving the one-finger salute to Trump. Then Trump and the DOJ would say to UVA, I'm going to pull the $500 million roughly a year in funding from your university. And then Spanberger, the BOV, and the University of Virginia's deep-pocketed alumni base would say, okay, we don't need that $500 million. There's only a couple more years left for Trump to be in office, and the likelihood of a Democrat winning the next presidential race is probably better than a Republican. And it's not going to be Trump for another term. Legally, it can't happen. So we're just going to raise $500 million this year, $500 million next year, and wait it out until Trump is out of the White House and controls the DOJ. Now, there's a little conspiracy theory for you there. But we certainly know, Lloyd Snook, that it went higher than Jason Miyares to Glenn Youngkin. To not think that Glenn Youngkin was a part of this poison pill deal is not reading the political tea leaves correctly. You in agreement?
Yeah.
Okay. Did it go higher than Glenn Youngkin with the DOJ and the Trump administration? because they knew that Spanberger was going to win. She was going to clean house with the BOV. The BOV was going to fire Beardsley. The BOV was going to fire Beardsley and then renege on the contract with the DOJ and the Trump administration that interim President Paul Mahoney signed with the leverage from the Trump administration, the $500+ million of funding that goes to the University of Virginia from his administration from the feds. Because they could easily raise $500 million. If Spanberger, the BOV, and the University of Virginia do this marketing campaign, we want to go toe-to-toe with Trump. It's Trump versus UVA in a marketing campaign. Help us raise $500, $600 million. They'd get every Tom, Dick, and Harry, any Jennifer, Louise, and Sally to donate $25 or $50 a piece to help make that gap.
So how are you suggesting that this move stops that?
What's that?
How are you suggesting that this move stops that?
This move stops it by making the buyout so expensive that Spanberger chooses to not agree with her Democrats that put her in office, the General Assembly in Richmond that cockblocked the Youngkin appointees, because she doesn't want the PR collateral damage of overreach, especially out of the gate, as the governor of Virginia. The only reason the BOV would not fire Beardsley now is because Spanberger says to the BOV, don't do it. But Creed Eads, Katrina Carlson, what's the Portsmouth state senator? Louise Lucas, who used the word, a nasty, nasty word. Louise Lucas, they all would want Beardsley out. Mm-hmm. David Toscano is writing commentary left and right about why Beardsley's hire was wrong. Left and right. The only reason this wouldn't happen is because Spanberger will be positioned in the media as doing the same tendencies that Democrats hate with the Trump administration, overreach. Your thoughts, viewers and listeners. Sydney Riggs, welcome to the broadcast. We're unfiltered, we're unafraid, we're unabashed, we're unaffiliated. I think that's why you watch and listen to the I Love CVille show. Wild times. All right, it's 1:33. Goodness gracious, we've gone in an hour and 3 minutes without taking a break. Other items in the notebook that we need to get to. Next headline. What do you got, Judah Wickhauer?
We have a crazy man who decided that because he got the wrong order at Bojangles, he was, I guess, somehow entitled to. I don't know. Entitled's not the right word, but he called them up and made a bomb threat.
All right, this is the whole point of this headline was a little bit of levity. Mm-hmm. There's an individual that went to the Bojangles on Pantops.
Yeah.
Got so pissed off with his Bojangles order that he started harassing and bomb threatening and threatened to explode the Bojangles on Pantops. Guess what? The police is able to track down people who call in threats to Bojangles. Now this man's got a mugshot of him, courtesy of the Albemarle County Police Department, and the crime he's committed is threatening the Bojangles on Pantops.
Thankfully, they've also found that there were no explosive materials.
Of course not.
In his home.
The only thing that was going to be explosive in his home was going to happen in the bathroom after the sandwich was eaten. Bojangles is spicy, and I'll leave it at that. Next headline is the Tony Bennett court naming. Saturday against North Carolina, Tony Bennett will have his name honored, will have his career honored with his name position on the court at the John Paul Jones Arena. Mm-hmm. This man is, my standpoint, the greatest coach of all time. And I understand there's great coaches out there like Brian Boland, who won 4 tennis national championships at UVA, like Bruce Arena, who won 5 soccer national championships at UVA, Brian O'Connor, Dom Starsia, the swimming coach, George Welsh. I get it. But Tony Bennett taking a basketball program from outhouse to penthouse and winning a national championship and one of the 2 revenue sports, the marquee sports, that 2019 national championship is the greatest sports story in UVA history, bar none. And because you are the author of the greatest sports story in UVA history, bar none, you get the moniker of greatest coach in University of Virginia history, period. Saturday against North Carolina, you have a matchup of two top 25 teams. North Carolina is ranked 5 ACC teams ranked. UVA is the second highest of those 5. Duke is number 1. Virginia's 14 in the AP poll, 15 in the coaches poll. Virginia's got a real good team. Before the game starts, Tony Bennett will be honored and recognized, and his name will be on the court. And I can't think of a person that's better fitted to be the first coach in Virginia athletics history to have their name on a playing field. There is no UVA coach in the history of this rich and long-lived athletic department that has had their name positioned for perpetuity on a court. Mm-hmm. And Tony Bennett's the first. And props and salute to him. Props and salute to Conan Owen, Sir Speedy of Central Virginia. If you have a logo and you need more visibility for it, like signage, like window decals, like direct mail, like banners, like tickets, like lanyards, like merchandise, like uniforms, there's one person you call, and it's Conan Owen of Sir Speedy of Central Virginia. He's a Darden graduate. Sir Speedy of Central Virginia is locally owned and operated. And ladies and gentlemen, he is a fantastic guy that will take care of your logo, your visibility, and your tangible marketing needs. Conan Owen and Sir Speedy of Central Virginia. Thank you kindly for joining us. For Judah Wickhauer, my name is Jerry Miller.